you cannot base your experience or what you're being told on someone else's journey in their home buying or based on what they say their journey is in their home buying.
And so explain that.
You gotta sacrifice. You wanna move like bosses move.
All right. Welcome to the YMA Nation podcast, Real Estate Wednesday.
Real Estate Wednesday, guys.
Real Estate Wednesday. I am Joe Wallace, and this is
Rebecca Wallace.
And we're going to have a great show today.
Yes, we are.
Because the topic, you are here because you read the topic, and she's going to go in depth on this topic with the, some people going to have to like sit back and pay attention and be like, okay, all right.
Exactly.
Face reality, right? Be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're on right now, guys, make sure you like, comment, and
subscribe.
Gotta make sure you subscribe to the YMA Nation podcast. So every time a new episode drops, you'll be the first to know.
Yes.
And it also helps every time because right now we're averaging like 15 new subscribers.
Yep.
Every day. So please subscribe if it's your first time on. Subscribe. Also down in the comment section, make sure you hashtag YMA Nation so you can go into our monthly cash drawing.
Yes, everybody loves cash.
Everybody loves cash, which we will be doing on Friday, this upcoming Friday.
All right.
All right, guys. So let's get into the subject.
All right. So first-time home buyers, why your experience will be different. So I come up with this topic because I always have clients. Typically, your first-time home buyers say the same thing. My cousin, my aunt, my friend, my coworker just bought a house, and they only had to put X amount of dollars down. Or, well, they got this for this amount of money. Or, just different scenarios of things that other people say that they were able to do in their home buying process. So then they come back and say, well, why do I have to bring more money down?
Right.
Or, I want a home on an acre lot for $110,000 or, things of that nature. So they
who's
always
buying a home on an acre lot for $110,000?
No one.
Well,
but
not in upstate.
But the thing is, you cannot base your experience or what you're being told on someone else's journey in their home buying or based on what they say their journey is in their home buying.
And so explain that.
Okay, so there are a couple of reasons, and I've got 4 of the main reasons why. Okay. So number 1, you do not know what their credit is or what's on their credit file. So you don't understand what their debts are, what their income is, what their debt to income ratios are. So you really can't base how much they're approved for or what they're able to buy on what your income and your debts are.
Okay.
It's too, it's not the same.
So what happens when someone feels that where they are is comparable to like that person that told them like, hey, you know what, I applied for a mortgage and my score was at like a 570. So they told me like I didn't qualify, and then that person was like, I don't know who told you that. I bought my house and I was at a 560.
Right.
Right. But I think what they don't tell them is all the underlying factors on they got that house for 560, but
their interest rate could be higher.
The interest rate could be higher.
They could have had to bring more money down. Additional closing costs to buy down their interest rate. So they could have been more cash heavy than what you are, or have more assets than you do, or showing in your bank account to be able to do that.
Right.
So the next number 2 is going into what you're talking about, which is you don't know how much their house actually cost them or how much they put down to get the loan financed for the amount that they needed to. So if someone says, well, I was able to do X, Y, Z.
I started off checking it every other week, just like most people do. Then it got out of control. I couldn't help myself. I started checking it day after day after day. I didn't realize that I was becoming addicted until my wife said something.
What did she say?
She said, it's just a credit score, relax.
Are you checking your credit score?
Huh? Hold on.
And I paid this much for my house. I'll give you an example. I had someone say, well, I was talking to my cousin. They just bought a house, and their house was $185,000, but they only had to put down $5,000.
Right.
I was like, well, it could have been the type of loan that they had. If they did 100% financing, they may have only had to pay closing costs.
Right.
They didn't really bring a down payment because they were getting 100% financing. So they may have only had to bring $5,000 cash to close. But if you're bringing 3.5% down on an FHA loan and you get a $185,000 property, then you're going to be bringing close to $7,000 just for a down payment.
Right.
And that doesn't even come close to covering any closing costs that you may have. So, it's all about explaining those things, and that your situation is going to be different than anyone else's situation. I can tell you, I can't tell you how many closings that I've had and how many people that I've worked with in the home buying process. And I cannot tell you of 2 people that had the exact same process.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, at all. They may be similar as far as how the transaction processed in general, but as far as like DTI, debt to income, as far as credit scores, as far as the amount of house they were buying, what they had to bring cash to close, I haven't had 2 clients that had this same scenarios.
That's interesting that you said that, because I had a conversation with someone and they were saying how they didn't understand how like their cousin got such all these great opportunities. Be like they was on vouchers, but then they didn't have to put down any closing costs. They didn't have to put down like the down payment. So again, going back to allude to how you stated, like they got a lot of programs out for people that's on like Section 8, that's on that get like housing vouchers, right, and get assistance. In the program that we was talking about on this person, they was actually, so as they pay their payments each month, a percentage goes into like a fund for them, and then the state match that amount when they go to buy their house.
Right.
So like you make sure that when you're talking to someone and they're saying, hey, you know what, I got my house for this, ask those questions. I would, if it was like a family member or a friend and they said, hey, I got a house for $200,000 and I didn't have to put any money down, my closing costs, like where did they buy their house at? They may have bought that house in a subdivision that came with incentives where like they had like up to $10,000 of closing costs for houses in that sub. So I would always ask every underlying question, like where was your credit at? What programs did you get? Did you qualify for any programs? What type of loan did you get? Did you get a conventional FHA loan, USDA? Like all these things matter. So when you're trying to compare your situation to someone else's situation, do a thorough comparison of every factor.
And not only that, I mean, there's just going to be certain things. And what's crazy that you're saying that is I have number 4. People will always exaggerate to make it sound better.
They got like this great
deal, right? So you have to be careful too, because they may not even fully understand what they were getting or how they got there. Because if you're a first-time home buyer, a lot of it's new. A lot of it is, you're just going through the motions trying to get to closing. It happens very fast. So a lot of times it's just such a fast process that you really don't know how you got there. You're just doing whatever the loan officer is telling you to do and whatever your agent's telling you to do, which that's going into my next part. But you really have to consider that people may not tell you every single thing for you to be able to truly compare what your situation is and what their situation was. So you have to follow the advice of your realtor, your loan officer, the closing attorneys.
Especially your loan officer, right?
Right.
They're the ones that dissecting everything.
And yes, every lender is different. They can offer different products. Some require different scores to be able to qualify for different products. So sometimes you don't want to shop your credit with the lenders. You want to get with an agent that's able to really help you adjust and make a decision on a lender based on where your scores are and based on what type of product that you need. If you know you don't have $10,000 sitting in the bank and you're going to need some help either with your down payment or your closing cost, then you need an agent that understands that, and they're going to be able to get you with a lender that can get you in those products and programs that will help you.
I just had to applaud you on that. And I want to add to that. Make sure you are being transparent and honest. Like you have someone that's trying to help you obtain the largest purchase that you may ever make in your life, which is that home. It's okay to be honest and say, hey, you know what? I only have X amount saved up in the bank right now, because that gives the agent and the loan officer the opportunity to say, okay, here's where this person is at right now.
Right.
Here's what I could do for them based on what they told me, instead of you like not sharing all the information because you don't have like a savings or whatever the case is. Like, so be open, be transparent.
And I will tell you, being an agent and really being busy, I really try to have the thoroughest conversations that I can with my clients. But sometimes agents are so busy right now that the client's like, okay, I'm ready. I want to get pre-approved. And if a loan officer pre-approves them, some lenders don't communicate with agents, hey, your client doesn't have a whole lot of cash in the bank. Or, if a client's like, well, I'm going to have funds gifted, sometimes you got to go off the word that client really is having funds gifted from an outsource if they don't have the money sitting in the bank. And then you have an agent that is really, trying to accommodate that client, taking them to see houses, writing up offers, contracts, getting inspections done for the client to then come back and like, well, I'm not going to have the funds to close, And so.
Sorry to intervene, but that hurts the actual person, the actual buyer, because if you put down that money, the earnest money, you put down that earnest money, and then you can't close, then that could be a problem, because then you could lose that down payment.
And you also could have to still pay that agent's fees if they decide to, if that you're contractually obligated to pay that brokerage fee if they got you under contract on a property.
Right.
So you have to understand you're always under contract. Well, you should be if an agent is doing all of these things. You should be under a buyer agency contract with the agent. Same thing on the selling side, though. We talk about the buyers a lot, but the sellers have to be transparent too, because, if you get into a situation where you're like, the seller is going to do this and this and this, and then those things don't come to fruition, so you have buyers thinking that these things are going to happen, then it falls upon the agent to be responsible ethically, to make sure that those buyers are satisfied with what they're buying because they thought they were going to get a property in a certain condition. So as sellers, you have to be mindful of that as well, the transparency. But anything to add on that note?
I do not want to add anything on that because I believe that is our time.
All right.
But to make your home buying experience as best as possible, over-communicate.
Over-communicate. And I really just wanted to stress, too, outside of the communication is your experience is not going to be the experience of anyone else. So take your experience for what it is, embrace it, and ask questions if you have questions, but listen to the people that are trying to help you. And if you don't feel like you're in the best hands, you can call the Pyramid Group at 864-249-1437. And we'd be more than happy to help you with any questions that you have.
There you go. You heard it. Call the Pyramid Group. Broker with Keller Williams. 864-249-1437. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today for Real Estate Wednesday. And we will see you on Friday for Sports Talk Friday.
With the boss's view. You gotta sacrifice. You wanna move like bosses move.
YMA, Young Millionaires Association. Yeah, see, that's the association.